Welcome to episode number 130 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We're recording live on Blab on February 14, 2016. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. We always start out with the worst story that happened in online communications the past week. We followed up with some good stuff that happened, talk about some cool new tools that we found, and wrap it up with some statistics you'll want to know. BL always has the honors to kick it off. BL was the worst story of the past week.
Well, this one is a rather dreadful one with large implications, and Mark Andreessen managed to offend India, Mark Zuckerberg, and a lot of the world. Andreessen, this is a story from Bloomberg by Adi Narayan, and Andreessen tweeted that India's growth might have been stronger if the British had stayed, and then realizing that that was like not a good thing to say. Later he said, I admire India and the Indian people enormously, but the whole issue was about Facebook's free internet, what's it called? Facebook Basic, I forget. But anyway, Facebook's effort to provide internet service to 1.2 billion Indian people. And Andreessen pissed off those 1.2 billion Indian people. And basically, people forgot in the ensuing storm that Andreessen was one of the seminal founders of the internet, that he founded Netscape, which was basically the first browser, that he is a genius in technology, that he, his contributions date back to before the internet was born. But he did a stupid thing. He's on the board of Facebook, and he apologized, and he explained what he really had meant. And essentially the issue was that offering free internet service is somehow a violation of net neutrality because it was going to come along with Facebook. And in that case, then Facebook has an advantage over other services. The whole thing is, like so much political correctness that it's a little bit absurd in my opinion. So the usual claptrap that happens on social media went on even after he apologized. And, it was terrible. He shouldn't have said it. And everybody should have just calmed down the way they don't.
Yeah, it's wrapped up in a whole bunch of different things too. I mean, it's Facebook's attempt to
World
provide
domination.
internet access to Indians, but it's Facebook's walled garden version of the internet. So it's what you get from Facebook, and it's not the internet access. And the issue apparently in India is not necessarily access to the internet; it's the affordability of phones. So you can give us free access, but we don't really. I mean, they don't necessarily have the problem. Data access and stuff isn't the issue. It's that the phones are too expensive. So there's a bunch of things going on in that story.
Especially phones with internet access, yeah. That's the real issue. But even so, I haven't looked at the latest figures recently, but the vast majority of people in the world do access the internet on phones. So, this is a thorny issue. And, Andreessen made a mistake. That's what it was. It was a mistake. Yeah. I forgive him. I think he's pretty big.
Well, speaking of mistakes, I think a lot of people made mistakes this past week, and it all happened last Sunday. Did you watch the Super Bowl,
Super Bowl? No, I can't say that I did.
Didn't miss much. The game was and there's the commercials were even less than
a football game,
yeah,
right?
They were not very good. So it is, supposed to be the world stage for unveiling the latest and greatest creativity in advertising. And, if you don't have creativity, you hire celebrities. And that's kind of what it was. So there was a Liam Neeson pitching for LG's new 4K TV on a broadcast that didn't support 4K TV. So there's that.
Yeah, that was lame.
There's
lame.
Steven Tyler auditioned his own portrait, which was made up of Skittles. It was just bizarre and kind of weird. Willem Dafoe channeled his inner Marilyn Monroe in a scene from the 7-Year Itch with the subway blowing up her skirt and everything, except it was Willem Dafoe.
I did watch the
It
ad.
was gross.
That was among the weirdest. That was totally among the weirdest.
That was for Snickers bars. Anthony Hopkins did a product placement type of thing for TurboTax, vowing he would never sell out while he's sipping a cup of coffee or a cup of tea that has TurboTax logo emblazoned on it. That's straight out of Wayne's World, the product placement scene from Wayne's World. Budweiser had a bunch of celebs, Amy Schumer and Seth Rogen pitching, stumping for the Bud Light party.
Weird, wasn't that?
Yeah. Helen Mirren was blasting drunk drivers. Peyton Manning, even in his post-game interview, had a product placement for Budweiser, said, "I'm going to drink a lot of Budweiser tonight." And then to cap it all off, the weirdest thing ever, Mountain Dew had the puppy monkey baby ad, which was just...
Wasn't that bizarre? Oh my God. And you know what? People liked it.
I don't know. Not me.
No, not me either. No, I watched all the ads, but I'm not a big fan of football. I know you are.
Yeah, it was there have been better Super Bowls in terms of the game is concerned, but there have been much better Super Bowls in terms of the advertising.
There've been some, really memorable ads but, the question has come up, is it really worth that kind of money to buy an ad on the Super Bowl, considering that you're there for 30 seconds? And I think a lot of brands really decided, no, it's not.
Yeah. And it's a lot of money, and it's not the platform it once was for advertising. I just don't think anymore. All the ads are on YouTube before the game anyway. So.
Exactly. There was like a whole channel with them. So in terms of mistakes, Meryl Streep said that we're all Africans. This is from Associated Press. The reporter was Frank Jordans, and Streep is the head of a film festival jury, and she was committed to equality and inclusion of all genders, races, ethnicities, and religions. And the jury includes, a bunch of really notable people. And she, for some stupid reason, made the statement, actually, we're really all Africans. Okay, next.
She was making the point that Africa is the cradle of humanity, that we all evolved from Africa and went out into the world back in our prehistoric days. But
she was wrong.
Tone deaf.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, there's a lot of that going around, isn't there? So, Dave, I don't have any more bad news because I'm trying to look at brighter things.
Well, let's go on to the good stuff then. I've got a quick one here. Snapchat is finally figuring it out, finally discovering that it's hard to discover stuff on Snapchat.
Yeah, really.
This is from Recode, article by Kurt Wagner and Peter Kafka. And, so content producers and content developers and brands are struggling to make Snapchat work. And not surprisingly, it's how do you build an audience on Snapchat when it's impossible to find stuff on Snapchat? So Snapchat has apparently been telling publishers that are using the Discover program that it plans to let its 100 million daily active users subscribe to their favorite channels. Think of that. You can actually subscribe to a channel now. So you
wonder, what were they thinking up until now? Right? Who was in charge of this up until now?
So you get to use the Discover thing and put your content there, but it's all ephemeral, right? So it doesn't last, and people have to struggle to find you. So maybe incorporate a follow button at the beginning.
Well, the other night, Jimmy Fallon, I forget who he was talking to, but he said, "Oh yeah, you got to be on Snapchat, whatever the hell that is." It's very important. I'm on there, he said.
Yeah. I can't make recommendations to clients or anything to use Snapchat because it's just I don't know how to figure out whether it's successful or not,
Well, we got to have
Yeah.
metrics.
So there's that as well. So the Snapchat's also looking to replace each of the media brand's circular logo on Snapchat with a magazine-like image that rotates each day depending on the publisher's content. So it sort of refresh as your content refreshes. The hope is to make it more visually appealing, and therefore more clickable. They're aiming for a May rollout for this. So stay tuned. Maybe Snapchat will actually improve as a marketing communications vehicle.
Or not. So I have one. I didn't really know where this went. I mean, I sometimes think we need a "you can't make this stuff up" file, but this is from PSFK story, and there's a site called Pornhub, and they have turned to the whales for their next philanthropic act. They've had others, and so they said they're freeing willies for a good cause. It's an adult entertainment site, of course, called Pornhub. And to celebrate World Whale Day on February 13th, for every 2,000 video views on the site through February 29th, so you still have time to go there, they pledge to donate 1 cent to to the Washington-based nonprofit whale protection organization, Moclipsydological Society. And they're on track to raise like around $6,000 or more if the word spreads. It's not their first voyage into do-gooding. They had Pornhub Cares, which supported the environment with Give America Wood, that helped raise cancer awareness. And they had Save the Boobs and Save the Balls, which recently had a clothing line that supports domestic violence victims. I'm sorry.
It's a good PR move for them. I don't think that people are going to be going there because they want to support those charities.
I don't either.
That's kind of all right. Well, it's a side benefit. I can feel a little bit better about going to, come on.
I mean, somebody's having fun over there.
So this is an interesting thing. So the little panel of information that shows up when sometimes when you do searches for brands that shows the address of a brand
Knowledge graph.
The knowledge graph, right?
Yeah.
So now, this is from Marketing Land article by Greg Finn. You'll be able to edit the knowledge graph information, or at least some of it, yourself. So Google's going to give users and brands some control over the information that's displayed in the knowledge graph. Official representatives will now have the ability to make the changes and the updates. This is the first time Google has opened up the knowledge graph data for improvement by users. You need to become an official representative to make the changes. There's a couple of steps you need to verify your authority to be able to do that. And which is good, but the changes will be reviewed by Google for accuracy. So they're it's not wide open and everything, but it does make updating that information, essential information, much quicker once you get verified. So changes of address, phone numbers, stuff like that sometimes can take a long time to propagate throughout it. I know I've changed addresses for businesses and on online properties, and it can take a long time. So good move on Google as far as that's concerned.
We'll have to see how that one works out, because when you start getting marketing people involved in changing search information, I get nervous.
I'm pretty sure Google's cognizant of that. They probably will.
Yeah, really. So I have a happy story, and it's like just in time for Valentine's Day, and I'm missing my dog because I haven't been able to have him at home since I broke my arm, but he's coming home. But anyway, social media brought together a stolen service dog who'd been taken 2 months ago, just in time for Valentine's Day. And the dog's name is Kramer, and the guy's name is Nick Glazer. And it's a golden doodle, near and dear to my heart since I have a Labradoodle. And some vile individual broke in and took his dog under suspicious circumstances. And for 2 months, he really launched like a ferocious campaign using, flyers and social media to try and get his dog back. And I can just even imagine he filed a police report and he set up an anonymous tip line and he just begged for it. And tips came in from all over, ranging from people who said that they saw the dog on Craigslist and they saw it everywhere. I mean, that's what happens. And he chased down every single lead. And then all of a sudden, a woman named Linda Zott Pearson posted a message on the Bring Kramer Home website on Facebook and said, "Could this be your Kramer at the South LA shelter?" And a few hours later, Glazer jumps on an airplane from Seattle, and he goes to the shelter, and sure as hell, it was his dog.
That's awesome.
Isn't that the best story? I love that story. I'm going to tell it to Benny when he comes home.
So Amazon is in the news again. When are they not? I guess they're making moves to get into the video game industry. More moves getting into the video game industry. This is from a Fortune story by Chris Morris. So Amazon has released a new high-end gaming engine, video gaming engine called Lumberyard. So the gaming engine is basically the technology used to build video games. It will allow developers to create games for PCs, for Xbox Ones, and for PlayStation 4s. They're not going to charge game makers any sort of royalty or subscription fees. So they're going to monetize it by the use of the Amazon Web Services upon which it will be built. Lumberyard integrates with Twitch, which of course is the game video streaming service that Amazon bought in 2014 for $970 million. And Twitch is, if you're not familiar with it, it is a site that you go to watch people play video games. So there's a lot
that will astound me till the day I die. It has millions of subscribers.
Well,
right?
and video games are a big spectator sport, but also if you're thinking of buying a video game, if I'm thinking of buying a video game, I'll go to Twitch and watch people play it to see if it's something that I actually want to play. So
okay,
there's that.
I can see that.
The service the engine will also support mobile games and virtual reality titles on devices from Oculus. They're also introducing a separate service for operating and scaling broad multiplayer games. So that's very, very popular in sort of AAA title video games these days, is the online play. Amazon's going to lure game developers with this free high-end graphics engine that can drive more traffic to their web services, which is going to help drive profit with that. They're giving developers
more traffic.
They're giving developers the ability to create games with strong community elements, so news feeds, leaderboards, in-game messaging, and offering this stuff freely up front and charging only for the number of active users a game has. That's a win for independent developers, so they're going to attract talent, and obviously they've got the Amazon store, so they're positioning themselves as the way to sell your games as well. So pretty cool.
And then we have the Amazon brick and mortar bookstores coming to town. I mean, this, they're like taking over the world. Not just Facebook that's going for world domination. There's a lot of companies vying for that. So I came across this absolutely wonderful thing. It isn't new, but it just went viral, and it's Spot the Panda. And I got this story from Business Insider, from Ben Taub, who actually had written it for a science magazine. But it's a brilliant promo for the World Wildlife Foundation, who are among the chief advocates of pandas, because giant pandas have become the rarest species of bear on the entire planet. And they're listed as endangered on the World Conservation Union's red list of threatened species. So there's a Russian artist whose name I will undoubtedly butcher. It's Ilya Klemenkov, and he created a mind-melting illusion that it has a panda hidden in black and white zigzag lines. And the reason it went viral is some people see it and some people don't. So if you don't see it, you have to sort of step back and tilt your head and stare at it. And what you see is, in fact, the famous logo of the World Wildlife Foundation. And the optical illusion has at the bottom of it, they can disappear. And giant pandas, this is really cool. They eat 99% bamboo. I mean, they don't hurt anybody. They don't hurt anything. Bamboo is weed. And, they've been forced from the lowlands by farming and deforestation and industrialization. And so now they have to live only in the mountains, and that's not where they ever lived before. So take a look at the picture because it's absolutely brilliant. And, what a great promotion.
Yeah, it's very clever. Very, very cool idea. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this one, but I'll bring it up. I put it in best because why not? It's not bad.
It's sometimes hard to know where to put it.
So YouTube Red, which I have now, it has launched YouTube Red Originals. That has launched. It is original movies and television shows by Google, by YouTube, sponsored by YouTube, featuring YouTube stars. So there is a movie called Laser Team featuring Rooster Teeth. And Rooster Teeth is a YouTube star or YouTube stars. I'm not quite sure which, but this is a feature-length movie you can watch on YouTube about 4 small-town losers that stumble upon an alien ship carrying a mysterious cargo, leading to a battle to save Earth from an all-powerful enemy. And I watched about 10 minutes of it. It's cheesy, it's silly, it looks like it could be fun. It's not my cup of tea, and the acting is not very good. So there's that.
Well, I went to the to the YouTube space in New York City because my friend Robin Gelfenbein was heading a panel there, and they have these huge production studios for YouTubers who have, I think you have to have more than 1,000 subscribers in order to be able to go and use their sound stages and their, they have the latest equipment of all kinds and people to help you with all sorts of things. And so it seems like it was inevitable that this would develop, because they encourage these people, obviously, because these people make them money.
Yeah, well, these are the top YouTubers. So there's a trip to Unicorn Island featuring Lily Singh, and it's a feature-length movie about a look inside her life and journey as she embarks on a challenging 26-city global tour. So she's a YouTuber who does, I don't know, happiness videos, and she's a dancer and stuff. And,
they're feature-length films, as in 90 minutes.
Yeah, like 2 hours. Yeah.
Really?
There's a dance camp movie featuring
I saw that.
Meg DeAngelis. Boy goes to dance camp, meets girl. Romance ensues. And then finally, of course, there is PewDiePie. So there's PewDiePie has his own series. It's called Scare PewDiePie. It's a reality adventure series from the creator and executive producers of The Walking Dead. Experience thrills, chills, and laughter as PewDiePie encounters terrifying situations inspired by his favorite video games. So,
and what is he, 15 now? We have to live with him for the next 20 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's all of them are all these are very Generation V focused. So, like I said, not my cup of tea, but very, very interesting that YouTube is this is their foray into original programming.
That is fascinating. But, my big beef with just about everything is that people fall so in love with their own content that just about everything needs an editor. Every film I see could be 20 minutes shorter. Every video I watch could be shorter. Every article I read could be shorter. I mean, people can't edit their stuff. And so, feature length, it's distressing to me.
We'll see how it works.
Yeah, really. So there's really something cool that happened. Tumblr hosted the first answer time from the International Space Station with Commander Scott Kelly, who's been in space for longer than anybody. Like, I guess he's up to almost 390 days. And you had a chance to pick his brain about what it's like to live in space. And it was on yesterday. And Answer Time is what hosted it. And it was launched last summer to provide an open platform for today's pop culture creators to be asked questions, or what people want to know. So about album releases, product launches, election campaigns. And so some of the sessions have been Miley Cyrus, model Charlotte Free, Dr. Reagan McDonald Mosley of Planned Parenthood, the cast of Jessica Jones, Bill Nye, who's one of my all-time favorites, Supernatural's Misha Collins. It's a fascinating thing, and a really wonderful use of Tumblr.
So is this a Tumblr site answer time?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and you ask your questions in advance, and then he answers them.
It's Tumblr's version of Ask Me Anything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So a little short one. Instagram is introducing video counts. Imagine that. This is from a Digiday article by Garrett Sloan. They are rolling out video view counts finally. Again, why didn't they have that built in from the beginning? But there you go. The new setting will start showing for a limited number of users, and they'll be available network-wide in the coming weeks. Obviously, video view counts are important social proof, so advertisers on Instagram are happy it's there. Video producers on Instagram are happy it's there. But again, the controversial "a view begins at 3 seconds" is in place. The same thing for Facebook. So a view will be 3 seconds. That's what will count as a view, which I think is bogus, but there you go.
I agree with you. So Twitter did something interesting besides their new algorithm on the homepage. They're organizing the Twitter Trust and Safety Council because trolls and bullies and harassment has been a big problem for a lot of people. And, it's hard for Twitter on their own to track all of this. So what they've done is they've reached out for help, and they've got 40 organizations that include ChildNet International, Internet Watch Foundation, NetSafe, and it's not abundantly clear how the thing is going to work, but, it sounds to me like going for outside help is a smart idea, and taking this extremely seriously is a very smart idea. And I know they do, and they have to. And, I just don't think Twitter's broken with all these algorithms and everything else that's changing, but obviously Wall Street does. So
I kind of like what I've seen so far of the algorithm update on the homepage. So
yeah, me too.
We'll see how that pans out. Any new stuff, or we in the shiny new stuff? Any more?
Shiny new stuff. And, I was really glad to come upon the one that I did, where you can actually notarize legal documents remotely with iPhone. And the app is called Notarize. And how it works is really cool. The notary does a video call with you. You send them your, ID, your license or something like that. And then they watch you sign the document in the video call, and then they electronically stamp it as notarized. I'm not exactly sure how that works because I haven't tried it yet, but I will. And it just seems like a great idea. It's a free app.
So it is legally binding then?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a real notary and all that. Well, I'll find out when I send one to my lawyer.
So my cool one is a Quartz. One of my favorite sites, qz.com, has a news app now. I'm not sure. I think it's just iPhone, but it's basically a news app for their content, and the interface is fascinating because it's like a texting like interface. So when you open up the app, it will give you little short blurbs like in the text messaging app of the latest news, and you prompt it more. It's just short blurbs of news stories. It has occasionally links to the full length versions of the news stories, but you're prompted to interact with it with pre-written responses that are, you just tap on it and it's like you wrote it. And some of them are emojis in response to an article that or blurb that they've given you, or if you want to hear more or want more from that particular story, anything else is one of the, with a question mark, is one of the responses. Next, for a story on the GOP debate, one of the responses was, who took the biggest hit? So it's kind of cute, kind of interesting interface for this type of an app, but I check it out. The stuff that Quartz does is high quality. So I'm interested to play around with this a little bit more, but it's a cool idea.
I have to look at that. I can't get enough news. I eat news. So I just want to say to anybody who hasn't gotten around to or is feeling bad about the fact that they didn't do their Valentine's Day card to the one they love, you can go to pawfun.com/send e-card, and you can still make and send a free e-card with your pet's photo, and you can decorate it. You can give them mustaches and hats, and you can write things, and you can send it to your Valentine. And several people have done absolutely adorable ones, and that's my pet blog. So I hope you give it a try. I hope it gets you out of a jam if you forgot.
Very good. So let's.
So we got to talk about our newsletter, Dave.
Yeah, we have a free newsletter every week. We send out a newsletter with links to the blog post where we have links to everything that we talked about during the past episode. So you will want to subscribe at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/newsletter so you don't miss an episode. And we have exclusive content in there. Every subscriber gets our free ebook that we put together quarterly on the cool new tools that we talk about every week. So it's a compilation of all the best of the best tools, and you'll definitely want to subscribe for that alone.
It's a lot of the apps that we've covered, and we went through and we took the ones that we really found were the most useful, and we organized them so that they'll be easier for you to find in categories. And we're going to update that on a quarterly basis, but you only get it if you subscribe to our newsletter. We should also make them subscribe to our podcast.
So if you want to hear this podcast, you can watch it live on Blab and subscribe to the Blab channel, but also we're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, so search for Beyond Social Media Show. On either of those channels, you'll get it, and you'll always be able to watch the replay on our blog at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com as well. Let's wrap this up with some daily numbers. So I've got Buyer's Journey Budgeting. This is from IBM and the CMO Club, who got together to do some research on this. Content generation is the biggest expenditure for the CMOs surveyed. Content generation accounts for 13% of total marketing budgets. That compares to traditional advertising accounts for 12% of marketing budgets. Online advertising accounts for 11%. Websites account for 11%, and events account for 11%. But it says something that content generation accounts for more than traditional advertising. So I think there's, the shift continues.
It's really quite fascinating to me, the areas that IBM has gotten into. Back in the day, you had to have an IBM computer and those horrible little disks and all of that. But now they've got Watson, and they've got that, and they've got an email system, and they've got, fascinating content as well. So I don't think they get enough credit. Glad you brought that up.
They're a heavy hitter, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next week. Thanks for watching.
Yes, that wraps us up. Wait, tell them where to find us.
BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. You can find me on Twitter at @DErickson. My blog is e-strategyblog.com. I also blog for my agency's blog at creativepr.com/blogbl. You can find at What's Next on Twitter. Her blog is what'snextblog.com. She writes for Ad Age, column for Ad Age. And you can find her and hire her for all things online events and video marketing at Brain freeze. I'm sorry, BL. We're at
maximum-plus.com. Also, I have become a tech partner of jurispage.com, which is a website, a company that creates websites for attorneys, and we are offering interview videos for attorneys, and we have started to produce those. So I'm really excited about that.
Very cool.
So we'll be back next week, same time, same station, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.